Just over 2 weeks ago, I was walking down a set of stairs and I slipped. And in trying to recover, I kind of crushed my ankle. It really hurt. We were on vacation, and so when I came back here, it was with this sense of frustration of having to do everything a little bit differently, and suddenly I can't do prostrations even though I want to do prostrations, and Zazen required some rethinking for a few days. And so I was thinking a lot about how I move. And then just under a week ago, in spite of that attention that I was giving, I threw out my back doing some stupid little thing. And suddenly everything hurt. Standing up, sitting down, walking, breathing, reaching for an object. This moment, if you've ever hurt your back, you know, where you drop something and you look down and you just think, well, I don't have that anymore. So for the last week now, I've been ultra conscious of my body. I've been ultra conscious of this discomfort. And I want to be really transparent. Within that, there's been a lot of frustration, sometimes some embarrassment because I'm suddenly needing a lot of extra assistance from people. Even a feeling of, the question goes through the mind of about fairness, right? I did just a little thing, such a little thing, and now I have to deal with this. And alongside that, little moments of feeling sorry for myself. I don't want to pretend that part isn't there too. But mostly my experience of this, my experience of feeling delicate in this way is one of getting really, really conscious of how I move in the world. When I'm sitting, I'm thinking about it. And when I stand up, I give a lot of thought to how I'm going to stand up. When I walk, and yesterday I started taking little walks again, I feel every step. And with every step, there is this sense of how I'm taking care of this fragile thing. I move slowly. I move cautiously. I know where things are relative to me. I look at myself in the mirror as someone more vulnerable than the person I saw in the mirror a month ago. And it's okay, by the way. None of this is too serious. A week from now, I'll feel much better than I do today. 2 weeks from now, I'll feel much better than that. But right now, it's the thing that's most in front of me all the time. So I'm taking walks and I'm navigating my house and I'm doing these awkward moves of trying to figure out, how do I put on my pants? Or how do I get in and out of a car? Things that should be so simple and suddenly feel complicated. And I'm noticing there's something familiar about all this. The last time I felt like this, it wasn't because I had hurt myself. It was about 3 years ago when my dad died. And for a while, everything was experienced through the lens of grief and through the lens of loss. For maybe a month or two, I wore impermanence like a beekeeper's hat with the net. I could see through it, but I could also see it, no matter where I looked. Everything was impermanence. Everything was in the act of dying. And it changed the way that I walked and the way that I stood up and the way that I sat down. Not because I was trapped in some sort of morbid place. In the same way that right now, most of the time, because of the I'm being so cautious, most of the time I'm not in pain. Right now, most of the time, I'm curious. I'm curious about how my foot is landing on the ground. I'm curious about what it feels like to take this breath. I'm curious what it's like to open a door. And 3 years ago, in the wake of my father's death, I was curious about what it meant to be alive. I was curious when someone came toward me on the street about what it meant for them to be alive. It's a feeling of being very awake. I remind myself sometimes, if you were to go to a party and someone were to tell you, that guy in the corner is going to die tomorrow, you wouldn't be able to shake that information. You would be fascinated and you would be curious, and you might be more likely to approach that person. And when you did approach that person, you would probably do it with a certain sense of caution and a certain sense of respect. And the words that that person spoke and the gestures that that person made would feel, if not important, more poignant. They would carry a different weight. You would catch yourself taking little snapshots with your mind of facial gestures. You would wonder what was behind their eyes when they looked across the room. Even if you had never met this person before, the knowledge that this person was just about to die would bring so much life to that encounter. I remind myself of this because, of course, this is the reality we're in all the time. The person you meet is dying, and you're dying. The person walking down the street has as fragile and delicate a body as yours. The person in the next car over has a heart that is as breakable as yours. Everyone is walking through the world in this breakable way, including ourselves. We have the privilege of forgetting, right? But what I said to someone the other day was, I hate it when my back hurts, but I love how I am when my back hurts. I love this awareness that small things matter, that the way I hold something matters, that the way I breathe matters. I love how sitting down in a chair isn't something I do mindlessly on the way to performing some other activity. It's a whole event with a beginning and a middle and an end. And after doing this small thing of going from standing up to sitting down, there's even this moment of rest of, oh, I did it. I navigated that tiny, tiny thing. And there's one way of looking at this that says that I'm making a big deal out of a very small thing. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's that there are a lot more big deals than we think. I don't want someone to hurt their foot or hurt their arm and go into this mode because they have to. And if I could take a pill right now that would cure my back, I would. But I'm also grateful for the opportunity right now to notice my life in a different way. To remember, because it matters, not just now, but even more and more in the future, that there is a way for us to carry pain that actually makes the world bigger instead of smaller. That instead of being a contraction around what hurts, becomes an opening to curiosity about how everything works together. Like I said, you can talk to me in a week, and I will be moving more quickly than I do now. And I'll probably be doing a couple things at once sometimes. And I'll already be taking for granted my ability to do simple things that today seem really hard. We're built that way. I know that. But I hope that some part of this stays with me longer than it has to. And that's where I'll stop.